I'm glad my sister stole my boyfriend, he gave her an STD. I found real love while she faced an incurable disease. She is now crying in regret. My sister Olivia chatted about herself for the third time that hour while I pushed food around my plate at the dinner table. Olivia treated every dinner like a TED Talk. Instead of a diamond ring, she tilted her hand to capture the light as she spoke, inspecting her manicured nails. Luke, my boyfriend, scrolled his phone under the table next to me. His mind had been wandering while I sat next to him. Will, Olivia's boyfriend, sat across from me with his arms crossed, watching her with a bored face that said he'd heard what she was saying at least 9 times. So, I've been thinking, Olivia remarked. She surveyed us like she was giving a keynote. Will said, "Here we go. I have this idea. It's kinda crazy, but hear me out." Olivia's glance curdled milk. He sat back and waited without flinching. I always believed Will was quiet because he was uninteresting. He'd learned that speaking up around Olivia was fruitless, so I thought he was silent. Olivia said, "I think you and I should swap boyfriends." I laughed out loud after blinking since she couldn't be serious. I looked at Luke expecting him to chuckle. He wasn't. He looked up from his phone and watched Olivia more intently than in 3 months. "I'm serious," Olivia said. She grinned as usual when she wanted anything. She looked sweet but felt threatened. She waved her hand at Will. "Think about it. Will is so boring. No offense, babe. He never wants to do anything spontaneous. He just wants to stay home and watch movies and cook dinner. It's like dating a retirement home." Will snorted softly. "Better than dating a tornado that destroys everything and calls it excitement," remarked. His speech was quiet but sharp. Olivia ignored him as if she hadn't heard him. Olivia added, "And Luke," leaning forward with her chin in her hand. "He's adventurous. He's fun. He's always down to try new things. I just feel like we'd be way more compatible. It makes sense if you think about it." I fixated on her. "You're insane," I answered coolly. "I'm practical," she said. "Why should we both be stuck in relationships that don't fit when we could just trade? It's not like any of us are married, Ella." "Olivia, that is genuinely the dumbest thing I've ever heard you say. And you once told me you thought the sun and the moon were the same thing." "I was 12, she said. "And stop deflecting. I'm offering you an upgrade." She waved at Will like a game show prize. Will lifted an eyebrow but said nothing. Cleared his throat. He said, slowly. "It's not the worst idea." Whole body cooled. My neck cracked as I turned to look at him quickly. "Excuse me?" Shrugging. He shrugged carelessly, making me want to throw my fork at him. "What? I'm just saying, might be fun to try something different. We've been together 3 years, Ella. Things get stale." I repeated, "Stale?" Flat and rough, my voice. "Yeah, don't act like you haven't noticed." I noticed. I expected us to fix it jointly, not use it as a pretext to exchange me for my sister. Olivia clapped. "See, Luke gets it. Come on, Ella, 1 month, that's all I'm asking. If it doesn't work out, we switch back and forget it ever happened. No harm done." "No," I answered. "Why not?" "Because it's crazy. Because you're my sister. Because this isn't a Netflix movie. Pick a reason." Her eyeballs were rolling so hard I believed they'd become stuck. "God, you're so dramatic. It's not that serious. Will doesn't care." She anticipated his response. "Right, babe? Tell her you don't care." Will stared at me. Despite his impenetrable demeanor, something sparked behind his eyes. Exhaustion. Possible amusement. Maybe pity. Whatever ends dinner faster. Olivia smiled like he proposed. "See?" She took a folded paper from her fancy purse. "I even drafted a little contract. 1 month minimum. No backing out early. No running to mom and dad. We all agree to give it a real shot." She pulled the paper toward me. The trap was, "Come on, Ella, live a little. Unless you're scared Will won't like you." I saw it when she said it. Olivia knew all my buttons from pushing them as kids. The prudent move was to stand and depart. Grab Luke, leave, and never mention this idiotic idea again. Luke was already reaching for the pen. "Luke!" I yelled. "Don't you dare!" He wrote his name without looking at me, like I wasn't there. Like 3 years meant nothing. "Relax, babe." He handed Olivia the paper. "It's just a month. Might be good for us. Shake things up. Might be good for us." Like I was wrong. Like I did something wrong to sour our friendship. Anger clouded my vision. 2 years I gave him. 2 years of justifying his laziness, selfishness, and inability to prioritize me. He compensated me by signing away our relationship over dinner without thinking. Olivia signed next, as dramatic and crazy as her personality. Will signed with a hasty scribble, still faintly amused. Everyone looked at me. Ella, Olivia whispered softly. Honey-wrapped poison. I should have left. I should have told them all to rot. Luke signed that form like he was looking for a way out. Something made me refuse to be the pitiful one imploring him to stay. I seized the pen, scribbled my name in angry strokes, and flung it hard onto the table, making it bounce. Olivia grinned. That flawless polished smile that never touched her chilly eyes. Trust me, she said. This is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. She had no idea she was right. I thought I was screwed when I signed that deal. My lover desperately wanted out. He agreed before I could decline. I was stuck with a dull stranger my sister phoned. My sister didn't know this when she made me sign the form. Her dull, safe, uninteresting boyfriend. He was concealing something that would change everything. After learning the truth, she would go insane. 3 days later, Will texted me about coffee. I looked at the message for a minute, wondering if Olivia had put up a trap. But the text was easy. Just hello, no games. Figured we should actually talk since we're stuck together for 2 months. Coffee? I typed. Sure, before thinking. We planned to meet at a cafe between our apartments. Neutral ground. I arrived 20 minutes early, ordered a latte I didn't want to hold, and took a corner table. When Will entered, I almost didn't recognize him. I'd always seen him sitting next to Olivia, looking like he wanted to melt into the floor. He entered in a black t-shirt and pants, hands in his pockets, looking utterly different. Unburdened, relaxed. I saw him wave before he sat across from me. We were silent for a moment. He laughed softly and shook his head. He asked, "This is weird, right?" "It's not just me." "It's extremely weird," I said. "I keep waiting for Olivia to pop out from behind a plant and tell me this was all some elaborate prank that would require her to admit she was wrong about something," he said. "So, we're safe?" Snorted. I couldn't resist. I realized I'd never seen him smile before when he smiled. Not once throughout Olivia's year of dating him. "So," he murmured, resting in his chair. "How are you holding up with the whole Luke situation?" I clutched my cup and contemplated my response. The truth was that I'd alternated between wrath and embarrassment for 3 days. My polished response was that I was okay and managing it maturely. I went with honest. "I keep replaying it in my head," I said. He signed that form without looking at me, so I was gone in his mind. Will nodded slowly. "Yeah, that was rough to watch." "Was it obvious?" I asked. Our relationship was horrible from the outside. He pondered the subject. "I don't know if bad is the right word. It was more like he wasn't fully there. Every time I saw you two together, he was either on his phone or looking somewhere else. You'd be talking and he'd be checked out. I noticed because he stopped himself." "Because what?" "Because Olivia does the same thing to me," remarked. "Different flavor, but same energy. She's not checked out. She's just waiting for her turn to talk. Every conversation is just her waiting for an opening to bring it back to herself. The TED Talk thing." I add, "Exactly. I used to think maybe I was boring. She told me I was boring so many times I started to believe it. But then I discovered she called everything dull that wasn't about her. An unselected film. Boring. Uninstagrammable restaurant. Boring. Instead of going to an expensive club, I want to cook dinner. Boring. She called you a retirement home at supper. It's new, usually grandpa, old man, or my favorite. Why are you so obsessed with being comfortable?" Will imitated Olivia's voice perfectly, and I laughed harder than I should have. "She's exhausting," I said. "I love her because she's my sister, but God, she's exhausting." "She's black hole," Will added. "Everything gets sucked into her orbit. Your time, your energy, your money." I spent $950 on a purse for her birthday, and she returned it because it wasn't the right shade of beige. $950? How the hell could he buy that and not bat an eye? What did he do for work? I would inquire after he finished ranting about my sister. I saw the one she wanted. I bought. I should have understood that sand and oats are different. Shaking my head, I was shocked. Luke neglected my birthday last year, completely forgot. He forgot after I reminded him the week and day before. He yelled at me for being unhappy because birthdays aren't serious. Olivia demanded a surprise party and was upset that I invited her friends instead of beauticians. He responded, "I still don't know what that means." "It means she wanted hot friends for photos," I add. "Her friends are hot. Not hot enough, apparently. Something changed when we laughed. The discomfort vanished, and we were two battle veterans exchanging scars. Will, can I be honest with you? Please. When Olivia brought up this whole swap thing, I wasn't surprised. I was relieved. I've been trying to find an exit for months, but every time I brought up breaking up, she'd cry or threaten to tell everyone I was emotionally abusive or say she'd hurt herself. I was trapped. My stomach twisted. Will, that's manipulation. Yeah, I know. But when you're in it, you don't see it clearly. You just feel guilty all the time, and you don't know why. He stroked Lee's hair. Anyway, I signed that contract because it was the first door she'd opened willingly. Even if it's only a month, it's a month where I don't have to pretend anymore. I understood that more than I wanted to admit. Luke made me feel like I was asking for too much. I whispered of my need for his attention. He made it feel like expecting him to remember things was demanding. I kept shrinking myself to fit into whatever space he left for me, and it was never enough. We both chose wrong, Will remarked. We really did. He smiled. His features softened with that modest smile. Well, silver lining. At least we're stuck with each other now instead of them. Is that a silver lining? I guess we'll find out. I grinned back. I felt something other than fury for the first time since that dinner fiasco. I felt seen. Hey, random question, I said. What do you do for work? I realized I don't actually know anything about you. Olivia never talked about you unless she was complaining. Will paused. Something flared on his face. He was deliberating on how much to share, not uncomfortable. I actually just quit my job, he stated 3 weeks ago. Oh. I attempted to remain indifferent. So, how did he afford the $950 bag? Was he secretly a trust fund baby? His coffee sipped. Are you looking for something new, or not exactly? I quit because I don't need to work anymore. He nervously laughed. This is going to sound insane. I won the lottery, actually won. Not like $100. I mean, I won millions, choking on my latte. After coffee went down the wrong pipe, I coughed for 30 seconds while Will offered me napkins, appearing worried. Sorry, he said. I probably should have led with that. Wheezed. You probably should have. Millions. Yeah, millions, plural. Yeah. And Olivia doesn't know. Nobody knows. I haven't told anyone. I didn't even tell Olivia because... He stopped and stared at me expectantly. Their connection was instant. Because she'd never let you go, he said. Because she'd never let me go. She'd suddenly love everything about me. The staying home. The cooking. The comfortable, quiet life. All of it would become perfect the second she found out there was money attached. Back in my chair, I watched him. This man my sister had thrown away because he wasn't exciting enough. This man she called boring and safe and compared to a retirement home. He was a millionaire, and she had absolutely no idea. She's going to lose her mind, remarked I. Will set his jaw. Yeah. He admitted gently. I know. A millionaire. This man my sister threw away because he wasn't exciting enough had just won millions of dollars. No one knew my sister better. I knew how she felt when she didn't get her way. But Olivia not getting something she never knew existed, that was one thing. Olivia finding out she had it and gave it away, that was going to be nuclear. The only question was how long until she found out. Really, it wasn't long. Will called his mom a week later to tell her the mortgage was paid. When he called, I was sitting next to him on his couch and saw his face light up as she shed happy tears. It was one of the most honest moments I'd seen. We didn't understand Olivia had returned unexpectedly with the key she refused to give back. In the hallway she heard him exclaim, "Finished, Mom. Everything, you and Dad never have to worry about the house again." We heard a banshee-like wail. It was Olivia. "How?" Olivia shouted, bursting into the living room in fancy heels like a tornado. "Will, you paid off a mortgage for hundreds of thousands. How? Where did you get that much?" Will grew pallid. After the call with his mom, he stood slowly. "Olivia, you need to leave." "I'm not going anywhere until you tell me what the hell is going on," she said. Her frenzied eyes darted between me and Will like she was solving a life-ending problem. "You drive a 10-year-old automobile and work normally. You said you couldn't afford Cabo for my birthday, but now you're paying off mortgages." "It's none of your business," Will said. Although his voice was steady, his hands shook slightly. "We're not together anymore. Remember? You made sure of that." Olivia snapped at me. "You? You knew. You knew this whole time, didn't you? That's why you agreed to sign that contract so easily. You knew he had money, and you played me. I scoffed. Are you hearing yourself right now? You proposed the swap, you wrote the contract, you forced everyone to sign. I didn't even want to be part of this ridiculous situation, but you and Luke made that choice for me. No way this is a coincidence, Olivia insisted. Her voice rose and became more erratic with each word. You must have found out somehow. Maybe you went through his stuff. Maybe you hacked his bank account. I don't know how, but you knew, and you stole him from me. I said, I didn't steal anyone. You discarded him. Olivia, you presented him to me on a silver platter because you wanted my inattentive, checked-out lover instead. No one compelled you do it. She shouted. I didn't have all the information. If I had known. If you had known he was rich, you would have pretended to love him. I completed. He knew you'd only desire him for his money, so he didn't tell you. See you now, proving him right. Olivia's face looked red for the first time. She looked like she was about to explode. It's unfair, she cried. I deserve to know these things. We were together for a year. You should have told me. Why? Will whispered. You may suddenly find me interesting. To pretend staying home, cooking, and living comfortably wasn't boring anymore. Olivia, I know how that conversation would have gone. You would have liked everything about me the second you found out there was money connected. That's why I never told you. Olivia opened her mouth to reply but said nothing. One time she had nothing to say. The door slammed as she grabbed her bag and left, knocking a picture frame from the wall. That seemed like the end. Was wrong. My mother's calls flooded my phone the next morning. She said Olivia had called an emergency family meeting and I needed to come home straight away when I replied. Simply no excuses. Olivia was ready when I entered my parents' living room an hour later. I saw her cuddled up on the couch with a blanket around her shoulders, tissues around her, and red, puffy eyes from skillfully timed tears. My mom rubbed her back while sitting next to her. My dad looked uncomfortable near the fireplace. Ella, my mom murmured in that gentle, sad voice she kept for when she believed I'd done something wrong. We need to talk to Will. Let me guess, I responded. Olivia told you her version and now I'm the bad guy. No one said that, my mom answered. Your sister hurts. Olivia wailed. I just want things to go back to normal. I erred. Yes, I admit. I should not have proposed swapping. Ella is sticking it in my face and won't switch back, which is unfair. A mistake? You planned this for weeks, I repeated. You wrote a contract. Olivia, you brought a pen to dinner. I didn't know what I was giving up, Olivia said. He hid stuff. He concealed his identity. How could I decide fairly without all the facts? So now it's his fault you treated him like garbage? I asked. His bank statements were free. You should have loved him. Not used him. Dad swallowed. Ella, your sister may be right. Everything has gotten out of hand. Why not finish early and let everyone move on? She hasn't stopped crying. She's crying because she missed millions, I remarked. Not because she lost a great love. If Will were broke, she'd be taking pictures with Luke at brunch. That's unfair, Olivia said. You don't know my heart. Without realizing it, I had something with Will. Do you want me to say that? Fine. I was blind. Now I realize I took him for granted. See his wallet? I said, that's different. Sighing, my mom said, Ella, consider finishing this early. For the family's sake, I looked at my parents, my sister, and the flawlessly staged intervention to shame me into giving Olivia what she wanted, and felt something cold and definite settle in my chest. No, I answered. The contract requires 1 month, no early withdrawal, no running to parents. I faced Olivia. You wrote those restrictions so I couldn't flee when things were tough. Now you can't escape either. You want Luke so badly? Go be with him. Leave me and Will alone. 2 days later, Will arrived at my place fatigued and sank onto my couch. He pulled out his phone without saying a word and handed it to me. You need to see this, he murmured. Scrolling through Olivia's dozens or hundreds of texts. I made my worst error. Give me another opportunity. Miss you a much. Miss your cooking. Miss your embraces. I miss everything about you. I'll alter, I swear. Every night I'll stay home. I'll watch whatever you want. Never complain again. Will, I adore you. I always adored you. I was too stupid to notice. I'll feed you. I'll learn your favorite dishes. I'll be your dream girlfriend. I beseech you. I'll do anything. Anything. She's offering to cook, I told Will. That shows her desperation. She offered to make me breakfast, lunch and dinner after telling me she'd rather die than learn how to use a stove, he replied plainly. She's offered to delete Instagram, quit attending to clubs and say, be happy with a boring life as long as it's with you. Wow, exclaimed I. She really wants that money. He threw his phone on the sofa table. I'm silent. No more. What will you do? His expression made my chest tighten. Stay right here, he murmured. With someone who actually sees me, she implored. She cried. She pulled our parents into it. She blew up his phone with messages she never uttered in their relationship. Nothing worked. If you think my sister gave trying after that, you don't know her. When begging doesn't work, she switches tactics, and what she did next almost destroyed all I was creating with Will. I was happier than I had in years for the next 2 weeks with Will. We fell into a rhythm that felt natural, unlike my relationship with Luke. Will cooked dinner while I sat on his kitchen counter, and we talked about everything and nothing. He remembered that I liked my eggs over medium, hated cilantro, and always needed a glass of water before bed. One night we stayed up until 3 a.m., watching terrible horror movies and making fun of the bad acting. Another night, he taught me how to make his grandmother's pasta recipe, and didn't get frustrated when I overcooked the noodles twice. He laughed and said, "Third time's the charm." Since neither of us wanted to go to the table, we ate pasta on his living room floor, which was the finest meal I'd ever had. You know what I admire about you? Will said one night while we were lying on his couch, my head on his shoulder, some cooking show playing in the background that neither of us were watching. My lethal wit and charm? I offered. He smiled. No performance. You exist. You're just being yourself. I can breathe again with you. Excellent chest tightening. I don't think anyone's ever said that to me before. Then no one's been paying attention, he said, shifting to face me. I mean it, Ella. You're smart and humorous and don't lie. It's rare. That matters. I didn't know what to say. I wasn't used to being seen that way or being enough. You matter too, I added. You're not boring, safe, or other silly adjectives. You're steady. You're kind. You remember. Attendance is everything. Will softened, making my heart stutter as I kissed him for the first time that night. It felt natural. Our first actual date was at a small Portuguese restaurant Will loved. Olivia must have detected a change because the sabotage began. I heard a familiar voice behind me midway through our appetizers. Oh my God, what a coincidence, Olivia remarked, appearing at our table like she'd popped from nowhere. She was dressed to kill, full makeup, heels that could double as weapons. I didn't expect you to. May I join? I answered. Yes. We mined. Despite me, she pulled up a chair between us. How's it going? She asked, staring at Will. I hope we're getting to know each other slowly. You shouldn't rush anything serious. Rebound partnerships fail. This isn't a rebound, Will answered calmly, but his jaw tightened. Olivia, you weren't invited. I'm watching out for you two, she said sweetly. Ella has a bad relationship history and I don't want Will to get harmed. You deserve someone loyal. Like you stayed? I asked. You swapped him for someone more exciting? Olivia smiled briefly. I erred. I've admitted. But Ella rushing into something with you won't help. She's using you to get back at me. Will rose up and dropped cash on the table. We're leaving, he whispered, grabbing for my hand. Don't follow us. We left Olivia at the table alone. When the direct sabotage failed, she switched to indirect sabotage, including coffee shops, movie theaters, and bookstores where Will wanted to show me his favorite section. She always appeared out of nowhere with an excuse about coincidence or concern, saying I was moving too fast, Will deserved better, or rebound relationships were doomed. All of my family members started texting me with concerns. My aunt wanted to know if I'd manipulated Olivia into the swap. My cousin asked why I was being so cruel to my sister in her time of need. My mom called 3 times in a week to say Olivia wasn't eating and couldn't stop crying. And I felt no guilt? She's telling everyone I planned this. I told Will one night while scrolling through another worried text from a distant relative. She's saying I knew about the money and manipulated her into the trade to get you. It's insane. Will. You refuse to sign the deal. She rewrites history. Olivia's Olivia, therefore everyone believes her. She's gorgeous, charming, and always gets what she wants. I'm Ella, the troublesome one who wrecks everything. Will removed my phone and placed it on the table. You're not the difficult one, he replied. Only you see her clearly in your family. It doesn't make you hard. This makes you honest. Olivia contacted me that night. Maybe I was hoping she'd say something real, not manipulation, guilt, or strategy. "You're really doing this," she said, her voice chilly and controlled. No more theatrical crying. "You're really choosing a man over your own sister." I said, "I'm not picking anyone over you. Olivia did this. Your choices caused the exchange, contract, and everything else." "He was mine," she roared. "For a whole year he was mine and you just swooped in and took him the second you saw an opportunity." "You threw him away," I said 100 times. "You delivered him to me and urged me to sign a contract to retain him for a month. I like him, and you're upset. Olivia, it's not my fault. That's yours." After a long silence she whispered, "You're going to regret this." "Ella, I'm your sister. You're wasting blood on a weeks-old friend." "I'm not wasting anything," I said. "You are. You've thrown stuff away your whole life because you expect better. Well, guess what? Will was superior. You abandoned him." Will watched me put my phone down and murmured, "Your sister is exhausting." Gently. Though nothing was hilarious, I chuckled. "Yeah, she's funny. Olivia ruined our dates. Our family learned I manipulated her. She tried to make me pick between her and him like I was the villain in her story. Every time she failed, he saw through her. I believed she was done, but then she went quiet. No calls, texts, or surprise visits. Olivia never goes silent, so that silence worried me more than anything else. She doesn't give up." A week went with no ambushed dates, family texts, or hysterical voicemails at 2 a.m. My phone was quiet, which made me more uneasy than all the craziness. "Maybe she's finally done," Will observed one night while we cooked supper. "Maybe she realized it wasn't working and moved on." "You don't know Olivia," I shook the sauce too hard. "She doesn't move on, she regroups." But days passed with no results. I wondered if I was wrong, maybe she had exhausted herself or Olivia had a limit. Then she texted. 6 words, no guilt or manipulation. "Can we talk? Coffee tomorrow?" I glanced at the message for 10 minutes before answering. "Fine. 2 p.m. I informed Will that night and he offered to come, but I declined. It was up to me to face this alone. Olivia was in the coffee shop when I arrived, seated at a corner table with a cup of tea. She looked regular, almost human, yet unsettling. "Thanks for coming," she remarked calmly as I sat down. "Olivia, what do you want?" She sipped her tea slowly and placed it down. "I apologized for everything, showing up at your dates, family things, texts to Will. I'm sorry for my infraction." I looked for the manipulation in the apologies, but she only stared at me with a new expression. Acceptance. "I've had time to reflect," she said. "I've accepted things. Will is with you. Contract expires soon. Whatever happens after that." She shrugged. "My fight is over." "Just that?" "You're done," I said gently. "Just like that." She smiled softly, almost regretful. "Enjoy him while you can, Ella. Both of you look delighted. After the month we'll assess everyone." She cocked her head. "Maybe Will and I can agree." Something about the way she said, "Enjoy him while you can," made my stomach spin as if she knew something I didn't. I felt like she was counting down to something. I said, "Okay," slowly. "Thanks for the apology." "Of sure," she stood and grabbed her purse. "See you around, Ella. Tell Will I said hey." She left, and I sat there for a long time trying to figure out why her calmness worried me more than her craziness. When it was quiet, I felt like I was waiting for a bomb. Olivia doesn't lose gracefully. She never loses. So when she started acting like nothing mattered, I knew something was wrong. I didn't know what. Then my phone rang at 2 a.m. She was crying so hard I couldn't understand her, and what she told me altered everything for everyone. Olivia called in the middle of the night and I instantly answered, knowing nothing good happens after 2 a.m. "Ella," she muttered out between sobs. This was raw, horrible, gasping crying. Not her usual. "Olivia, slow down," I whispered. "What happened? You hurt?" "I slept with him," she screamed. "I slept with Luke." "You what?" "I know," she wailed. "I'm sorry. I was angry and heartbroken, and he kept texting me about missing someone who respected him. I just wanted to feel desired, and it happened. Ella, I'm sorry. Olivia slept with Luke. I hadn't slept with Will." "When? When did this happen?" "A few days ago," she muttered. "But that's not why I'm calling. Another thing, Ella. Something worse. Badder than my sister sleeping with my ex-boyfriend. I couldn't fathom anything worse. He told me after," Olivia said, her voice shaking. "After bedtime, he told me he has something. An STD. He found out a few weeks ago, but he was embarrassed to tell anyone. The room spun, and I grabbed my mattress's edge to stabilize myself. He has what? I don't know what, Olivia sobbed. He wouldn't say. He basically apologized and said I needed to be tested. His tone was casual, Ella. Like he hadn't ruined my life. Luke and I had slept together 2 days before the swap. I remembered it because it felt like a last attempt to fix something broken. I thought reconnecting physically would help. It didn't. Now that night could have cost me everything. Olivia. I whispered slowly, shivering. If Luke discovered something a few weeks ago, he had it when we were together. I slept with him 2 days before swapping. Olivia's raspy breathing was the only sound on the line. She was too preoccupied with her own dilemma to consider mine. Oh God, she whispered. Oh God, Ella. I didn't even think. No, you didn't, laughed. You never do. I hung up and called Will, who answered on the second ring, sleepy. Ella, what was wrong? I rushed to tell him everything, shivering so violently I could scarcely grasp the phone, saying I'm coming over. Don't move. He arrived at my flat in 15 minutes, hugged me without saying a word, and we stood in my doorway for what felt like forever while I attempted to breathe. We need to get tested, I mumbled against his chest. Both of us, if I have something and we've been together. Hey, Will said, looking at me. I haven't slept with anyone else, so whatever's happening, I'm not worried about me. He caressed my face. I'm worried about you and we'll work this out together. Okay? I nodded despite feeling bad. We arrived at the clinic immediately. Luke arrived 5 minutes later, looking annoyed like he'd been dragged out of bed for something inconvenient. This is ridiculous, Luke muttered as we all entered. I told you it's probably nothing serious. You're all overreacting. Overreacting? Olivia screamed, drawing attention from many in the waiting room. Luke, you told me after sleeping together, it's not overreacting. That's murder attempt. That's not attempted murder, Luke answered plainly. Olivia shouted, I don't care what it means. You should have told me. Who does that? Will said, the kind who didn't want this exact conversation. I'm not the bad guy. Found out and told people. This is more than most men would do. A medal for the minimum? I asked. You had something and slept with people. Not honest, Luke. That's reckless. I didn't keep sleeping with people, said. I slept with Olivia one time after I found out, and I told her right after. Right after isn't before, she said. Right after doesn't protect anyone. Luke rose up and looked at us in displeasure when a nurse called his name first. I, not you, must endure this. Maybe wait until you get your results before judging. He disappeared down the hallway, and Olivia burst into tears again. Will put his arm around me, and I leaned into him to block out my sister's sobbing. The nurse called my name next and led me to a small room with clinical cold lighting. She collected blood and gave me a cup for a urine sample and informed me findings would take 48 to 72 hours. I answered questions about my intimacy history with a distant numbness. What else should I know? Before leaving, she glanced at me with rehearsed sympathy. Avoid spiraling before answering. I know it's hard, but worrying won't change the results. Will followed me in even though he stated he wasn't worried. For solidarity, he said. Olivia went last and looked like she'd aged 10 years in 15 minutes. The four of us stood in the parking lot in the awkward silence of my life. Luke leaned against his car with his arms crossed, looking defensive. Olivia kept checking her phone like the results might magically appear early. Will held my hand in silence. Olivia screamed, "This is your fault," at Luke. "If you hadn't pushed for this dumb switch and been honest from the start, we wouldn't be here." Luke replied, "Olivia, you wanted excitement. Congratulations. This exciting enough? Don't you dare blame me for your disease," Olivia yelled. "Not an illness, a condition," Luke shouted. "I got it from someone else, so legally I'm a victim too." "You're victimized?" I said. "Your takeaway?" "Forget it." Luke threw his hands up. "I'm done. Call me when you stop treating me like a criminal." Olivia collapsed against her car and cried again as he drove off. 48 hours, Will whispered. "We just have to get through 48 hours. My sister was crying in the parking lot at Luke's car's empty space and at the clinic behind us, where our futures were in vials waiting to be evaluated. 48 hours. Will never left me, even though he had nothing to worry about. I had 2 days before the switch and slept with a man who couldn't tell me what he was carrying. I answered the clinic's first call. They had all 4 results, and only one of us would fail. 48 hours later, the clinic called while I was pretending to watch TV on Will's couch. My heart stopped, and I answered before the second ring. "Hi, this is Ella," I said, sounding calmer than I felt. "Miss Holmes, this is Clinic Dr. Warren. The findings are in. Are you available to discuss them this afternoon? Can you tell me over the phone?" "Please," I asked. "No more waiting." She paused, then continued. "Negative results. Clear you are." I gasped and collapsed over on the couch, crying before I could stop. Will immediately joined me, hands on my shoulders, panicked. "Ella, what's wrong?" "What they said." He pulled me into his chest and held me while I cried. "Thank you," I said into the phone. "Thank you so much." I ended the call and we sat silently. Even though we both knew he had nothing to worry about, he'd gone to get tested for solidarity, not necessity. Will answered the phone with quivering hands. I observed his expression as he listened. He nodded once, said, "Okay, thank you," and hung up. "No doubt negative," he said. "I know," I laughed through my tears. "I just needed to hear it." Olivia texted me after 10 minutes of silence. "Results are in. Dad and Mom's residence now." She didn't reveal her results. Will drove. I stared out the window, trying to figure out how to feel after my sister had ruined my life for weeks. She'd sabotaged my dates, turned my family against me, and slept with my ex-boyfriend. Part of me wanted to feel vindicated, but mostly I felt hollow. We arrived to find Luke's car in the driveway and Olivia's parked crookedly on the street like she'd just jumped out. We heard shouts before we reached the front door. Olivia stood in the middle of the living room with her arms crossed against her chest, her eyes red and swollen like she had been recently. Luke sat on the far end of the couch, looking defensive and small. My parents seemed lost near the kitchen doorway. "Finally," Olivia murmured, seeing me. "Everyone's here. What's happening?" Olivia shakily said, "I wanted everyone to hear this together." She glared at Luke. "Tell them. Tell them what you told me 3 weeks ago and kept secret." Luke's jaw hardened. "I apologized before. What else do you want from me?" Olivia intoned, "I want you to say it. So they all know exactly what kind of person you are." Luke looked around as everyone fell silent, then stated, "I have an STD," quietly. "I discovered it a month ago, should have told people sooner." "I didn't." My mother gasped, my father paled, and Will held my hand. "Ella," my worried mother began, looking at me. "Did you? Are you?" "I'm negative," I said hastily. Her face lit up with relief. Confusion follows. "But if Luke has something and you two were together," saying we got lucky. Or I did anyway. Implied inference. Olivia was slowly viewed by all. Her laughter was sour. It was the laugh before someone breaks down. "I'm positive," she said. Her voice broke on the second word. "I tested positive because this piece of garbage knew he had something and slept with me anyway, and didn't bother to mention it until after." Mom's hand went to her mouth. My dad appeared to have been punched in the stomach. "Olivia," Luke began. "I swear I didn't know how serious it was. The doctor said it was manageable, and I was still processing, and I didn't know how to bring it up." Olivia said, "Manageable? You think that makes it okay? I have to live with this forever, Luke. Every relationship I ever have for the rest of my life is going to start with me explaining that my disgusting, reckless ex-boyfriend infected me because he was too much of a coward to be honest." "I'm not disgusting," Luke replied. "I made a mistake. People make mistakes. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday." Olivia yelled. "Shrinking a cherished sweater is wrong." "Luke, this isn't wrong. My life was shattered because you couldn't manage an awkward conversation." The worst part was her shaking, sobbing, and loss of fight with every syllable. "I did this to myself," she said, her voice breaking. "I had Will, sweet, kind, loyal Will who never would have done something like this to me, who actually cared about me, who turned out to be a millionaire." She laughed again, sounding like glass breaking. "I had a millionaire who wanted to take care of me and I threw him away for this." She pointed at Luke in disgust. "I'm sorry, Olivia," Luke murmured faintly. "Get out," she whispered. "What?" she shouted. "Get out of this house," with her last energy. "I don't want to see you. Your voice bothers me. I've been damaged for life by you. Literally. Get out." Luke searched the room for a defender, but none came. My father stood back and pointed to the door. Luke grabbed his jacket and left without saying a word. The door closed behind him and Olivia collapsed onto the couch. The screaming was over, but the sobbing was worse. "I ruined everything," she muttered between sobs. I tossed away the perfect guy because I felt I deserved more. What I got instead. She buried her face in her fists. My attitude was negative. Will was bad. Olivia wasn't. She collapsed in front of everyone, yelling, crying, and blaming my ex for ruining her life. During her breakdown, she revealed why she wanted the switch. Her next statement made sense and made me feel nothing for her. The room was quiet save for Olivia's tears. My parents stood motionless, unsure whether to comfort her or stay away. Will kept his hands on my back as I watched my sister come apart, waiting for sympathy, fury, satisfaction, or anything. But there was nothing. "Olivia," my mom whispered, approaching the couch. "Honey, it'll be fine. We'll resolve this. Things are now manageable. Medicine has advanced." "You don't understand," Olivia gasped. "None of you understand." My tired, defeated dad continued. "Then help us understand. Explain to us how we got here." Olivia removed her head from her hands. Her face was puffy and blotchy, and mascara streaked down her cheeks like war paint. She looked at me, and her expression changed. Guilt. Like I'd never seen before. "I need to tell you something," sighed. "All of you. But especially Ella." Stomach clenched. "What?" Shaking, she said. "The swap wasn't random. It wasn't a dinnertime whim. I planned it weeks ahead." I did not understand her words as I glanced at her. "You planned it?" Luke and I had been communicating for a month before the swap. Ice formed in my blood. "Talking how?" "Texting primarily." She avoided my gaze. "It started innocently. He complained about your relationship, and I listened. That led to flirting. It increased." Will's hand tightened on my back. My mother made a small wounded sound. My father's face hardened into something I'd never seen before. "You were pursuing my boyfriend," I whispered softly while with him. Olivia pleaded. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I realized I wanted him, really wanted him, but I couldn't steal my sister's boyfriend. That would make me the villain. So I came up with the swap." The pieces fell into place. The contract she'd already written, Luke's quick agreement. "He knew," I continued. "Luke knew about your plan." Olivia nodded sadly. "We discussed it. He was meant to be startled when I mentioned it during dinner. It was practiced." Bitterly laughing, she said, "He wasn't a good actor. Agreed too fast. I feared you'd figure it out." At dinner, Luke's eyes lit up when Olivia mentioned the swap, and he signed that contract without looking at me. I believed he was checking out of our relationship, but he'd already checked into another. "The whole thing was a setup," I continued, sounding distant. "You manipulated me into handing over my boyfriend so you could have him without looking like the bad guy." Olivia cried. "I'm sorry, Ella. None of this was my intention. Just wanted—" "You wanted what you wanted," I said. "You've always wanted what you wanted, and you've never cared who you hurt to get it." "That's not true," she sobbed. "I adore you, my sister." My remarks were cool and cold. "You don't love anyone but yourself. You demonstrated that when you went behind my back with Luke. You proved it again by sabotaging my connection with Will. Making this about your guilt instead of what you did to me proves it." Olivia recoiled if I'd smacked her. My parents were astonished. Will said nothing, but I could feel his support via his touch. "I thought if I got Luke through the exchange, it would be okay," Olivia said. "I thought we'd be happy and you'd forgive me. I never expected this ending." "You never imagined there'd be consequences," I corrected. "That's different." She cried again, shoulders heaving. "I ruined everything. I plotted and controlled everyone. And for what? A man who lied about his health. A man who infected me and chastised me for overreacting." She gazed up at me with red-rimmed eyes. "Your millionaire treats you well. Got what I deserved." I stared at my sister, my childhood closest friend, who had betrayed me in the most premeditated way and was only sad because her plan had failed. "Yeah," I whispered. "You did." I held Will's hand and headed out the door while my mother called after me. I had nothing else to say. Olivia was clearly unapologetic.